If you're new to the sport of mixed martial arts and the UFC at large, then you would have missed the beginning of a giant wave that dominated the UFC of wrestlers. And if you didn't like that wave of wrestlers, it was a rough few years. There was a lot of fighters that you didn't like, but I think I know of maybe a solution to that kind of problem, at least in my lens. Before we continue, if you like the best sport in the world, if you like martial arts, then subscribe here. A number of years ago, one gym in particular, led by Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, produced some dominant wrestlers. These wrestlers were Khabib Nurmagomedov, Umar Nurmagomedov, Islam Makhachev. These guys were dominant. I mean, Khabib never lost. Some people would argue he never even lost a round. Not even just losing a fight, not losing a single round in his martial arts career. That's an insane thing to think about, considering that we just had a whole 3, 4, 5 fighters in the UFC that were undefeated or they had huge streaks and they all lost. So that's quite the feat coming from Abdulmanap's gym. Islam, same exact thing. He did lose once and his fights are a little closer, a little less dominant, but still extremely dominant. I mean, not only does Islam possess dominant wrestling, his striking is pretty scary too. He knocked out Alexander Volkanovski with a head kick of all things. That's not something that you would expect coming from, you know, a hardcore wrestler. Umar was doing incredible. These guys took over the UFC and a lot of people, most people do not like wrestling in the UFC. You're gonna hear the boos, you're gonna, you know, get this out of here, this is boring to watch. They took over nonetheless. And I think a lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people want to see the kickboxing and the boxing, and it's inherently more exciting to most people to watch the striking. However, I think something that sets, I'm gonna say, Khabib and Merab apart, just in an entertainment factor from all these other fighters as far as wrestling is concerned, is Khabib was dominant. You knew he was gonna take the lead down, he was gonna strangle, he was gonna be aggressive, he was gonna go for the finish, he was gonna go for the submission, and he was probably gonna get it. This guy went forward. There is a difference in my mind, especially in entertainment value, between clenching it out, you know, holding a guy against the fence, for 15 minutes, for 25 minutes, depending on how many rounds, and kind of maneuvering yourself or just laying on someone and every few seconds kind of just moving a little bit and squirming. That's not fun. That's not fun for anyone. I have respect for jiu-jitsu and wrestling. I think they are inherently interesting. I'm in a minority here. Most people don't. However, there is a difference between a dominant fight where somebody is tackling you. For those who are watching this video that may not be huge fans, I mean, Khabib would tackle you to the ground and quickly get your back and choke you out. It was incredible to watch. It is incredible to watch. You can go back and watch his fights right now. There's a difference between making that happen and putting a lot of energy to make that happen, and there's a difference between that and what a lot of what you see, which is a guy going for a takedown and then kind of getting it, but then stopping, not finding the submission, not being aggressive, not taking the chances. Now, I'm probably gonna get some backlash because I'm sure there's plenty of Khabib fights that were a little slower, you know, he's working his way, but the way he would suffocate you to me was exciting. He would do what's called a double leg takedown. Or even a single leg. Islam was good at those too. A single leg, he grabbed Dustin's leg and he just did like from a leg kick, I think. He did not let that leg go. He yanked on that leg. That pretty much sealed the deal. And they work their way up your body. It sounds a little strange, but they essentially wrestle you until they have control of your feet. They control your wrists. They control everything, and they go for a submission. And they go for it. That's exciting to watch, but what you get a lot is just the grinding, the laying there, not advancing the position. That's a key word, advancing position. The reason I think that Khabib and Merab kind of stand out in my mind versus a lot of the other wrestlers that you see, Umar was dominant, but I'm not gonna use him as an example, but I think you guys know roughly what I'm talking about when I say there's a lot of fighters that aren't fun to watch. They just grind it out, they do not advance positions. Khabib went for the sub. Merab, I was shocked. When Merab destroyed Sean O'Malley, and then he kept doing it, fight after fight, bout after bout. This guy is just Merab Dvalishvili. I did a documentary on my main channel. I do a lot of documentaries on that channel about his entire life. Incredible story, by the way. The way that guy would just relentlessly tackle you to the ground, and if he didn't get it, for him, no big deal. He just gets back up and he tackles you again. To me, there's a difference in that pacing, and I appreciate it, and I like it, because he's not gonna sit there and lay on top of you and just kind of hope and every half an hour change positions. He's gonna try and find that submission, or he's gonna try and maybe do some ground and pound and advance the position. He's so energetic that he's constantly going and going and going and going. That cadence of get back up, tackle him back down, get back up, tackle him down, at least there's advancing of position there. You know, some people don't want to watch it, some people want to watch the striking, but at least to me, that energy was interesting to watch because I didn't realize there was this whole other strategy that you could implement, which is just have more endurance and take them down more times. That was Merab's whole thing. And he was even asked about his endurance. Apparently, I don't believe this. He said that he doesn't even train endurance. He doesn't do cardio. That's a load of hogwash. There's no way he does this. The guy just does not slow down. So to me, especially for an entertainment value, and it's not, you know, it's not solely about entertainment. I truly think that these are warriors going out there to, a lot of them willing to die. So there's a reverence that needs to happen. There's not just all, you know, mindless entertainment, but so there's a respect there that I have for these fighters. And so when you have a guy that is wanting to put on a show for people in the way that he can, in this dominant way where he's just, you know, I can even think of a fight where he's tackling people. He picked up, I think, Henry Cejudo twice, literally picked him up, carried him across the octagon like as if it was a scripted WWE fight, which I don't watch, and smacked him on the ground. I mean, that's like Hollywood. That's like what the main character does at the end of the movie when it looks like he's gonna lose, and all of a sudden he starts to believe and he picks up, you know, and he carries the guy to the center of the octagon, smacks, you know, holding him all over his arms, like smiling at people in the crowd. I mean, at least if you're gonna do a, you know, have a more boring fight style, at least Merab made it fun and interesting. And his personality, by the way, if you haven't had the joy of seeing some of his content over on his Instagram, some of his skits are hilarious. He's actually a really fun and down-to-earth guy. That documentary I did on him, he grew up in post-Soviet Georgia. So the Georgian, economy collapsed. It was dependent on Soviet Russia. So when Russia collapsed, the Georgia economy collapsed. It was very hard. I mean, they did not have, you know, food, infrastructure, a lot of that stuff. They had a really hard time growing up. They didn't have a lot of money. The guy was like training in the dirt sometimes, you know, fighting. The guy has an incredible story. He not only did he go through all that, he came to America and he was stuck in like construction full time while trying to be a professional fighter. If you don't know, talk to a trades guy. I've worked a little bit with some trades guys. That is hard work. If you think you can do hard trades work and do martial arts in the night at the same time, I mean, talk about commitment. So I have a lot of respect for him. I like that he puts on exciting fights. You're welcome to disagree in the comments. Please subscribe here. If you like the sport of martial arts, if you like the best sport in the world, subscribe here. I also do documentaries, like I mentioned, on my main channel. I put a lot of effort into those. This channel, I have an idea that I want to talk about, and I flesh it out, and I talk about it on camera, but the other channel is for massive effort into those documentaries, and I'm super proud of, especially the Dustin one. I like where I went with that. Definitely always improving, always trying to get better. We'll talk to you very soon about the best sport in the world. In the meantime, subscribe and go watch my other videos. Thank you very much.